Hello! Despite not growing up with the movie like many others did, I really enjoyed the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's truly a marvel of special effects and clever twists that hold up very well even today. One of my favorite aspects of the film, aside from the obvious amount of work that was put into it, like it's insane, but one of my favorite things was the way it cleverly subverts cartoon stereotypes, but I think I'll save that for a more specific video about character writing. But what I want to talk about today is what I think is the movie's theme. When I first watched this movie, I thought the theme was only lightly touched on, but still deep enough to make me think and beautiful enough to make me appreciate it. Upon a second viewing, though, I saw more of the theme woven throughout the story, and I really wanted to talk about it. So for context, the basic premise of the story is that animated characters are real and live among us, albeit with some segregation. The film is set in 1940s Hollywood and follows a washed-up private investigator named Eddie Valiant, who is hired by an animation studio owner to spy on the wife of one of his cartoon actors to catch her cheating on him. The actor in question is of course the titular Roger Rabbit. And once Eddie does find apparent proof that Roger's wife Jessica is unfaithful, Roger is distraught, but still refuses to believe that Jessica would do this willingly. Roger runs away in a fit. The next morning, we find the man Jessica supposedly had an affair with dead, and all the signs point to Roger having killed him. Eddie discovers that there might be more to this case than meets the eye, and so eventually agrees to exonerate Roger Rabbit, however reluctantly. At first I thought this movie was kind of about healthy optimism or positive thinking, but now I think it's something a bit more simple and far more profound. Hope. These two main characters, Eddie and Roger, are equally contrasting in both appearance and mindset. Eddie is a struggling private eye with an understandably cynical worldview since his brother was murdered and work has been slow. Nothing is the same as it once was. Meanwhile, Roger is also facing perhaps equally hard times with managing work, the fiasco with his wife, and now being wanted for murder. But he still seems to be happy and carefree like a zany cartoon character usually appears in any short film. Roger's wisecracking and goofing off at times when they should be afraid definitely irritates Eddie, who tells him to knock it off repeatedly. But this is where I find Roger's character has surprising depth. Roger doesn't just immediately go back to joking around when confronted. Instead, he gets serious for a moment. He stands his ground and explains that laughter is such a valuable thing that making others laugh is his sole purpose in life.
Our laugh can be a very powerful thing. Why, sometimes in life, it's the only weapon we have.
I find this specific choice of words pretty interesting and weighty, especially coming from the mouth of a Looney Tunes-like talking rabbit. Is laughter really so powerful that it can be compared to a weapon? What is he talking about? Well, let me break down a specific scene that I think helps illustrate the heart of this character. So, Roger and Eddie are sitting in a theater after escaping Judge Doom's Toon Patrol, who of course are after Roger. Roger and the kids in the theater are laughing at Goofy's antics on screen. Finally, an exasperated Eddie asks Roger what's wrong with him. How can he be laughing and enjoying himself when they're being hunted? In response, Roger tries to make Eddie laugh since he is the only one in the theater who isn't laughing. But when this doesn't work, Roger is concerned and asks what could have happened to make Eddie like this. So Eddie finally admits that the reason he's so grumpy and the reason he hates Toon so much is because it was a Toon who murdered his brother. Roger is shocked, but he doesn't defend Toons or try to correct Eddie's obvious prejudice. Instead, he bursts into tears.
If a Toon killed my brother, I hate me too.
After the two make up, the screen shows it's about to start another program. Roger exclaims that he hopes it's another cartoon, only to be irritated and disappointed that it's another stupid newsreel. So here's the thing. Roger does appear to be a nonsensical, wacky cartoon character who can't understand the complexities of the human world, but based on these interactions, we can see that this isn't true. Roger could have made another joke when Eddie told him that his brother was killed, but he didn't. He just sat and quietly listened in horror for the entire story. Roger doesn't force anyone to laugh with him, but he does go out of his way to be funny and silly, not just because he's designed that way as a cartoon, but because he sees how much people are hurting and wants to help, such as how he made all those drunken reprobates laugh and sing with him in the bar earlier. Some of those men had just lost their jobs, but even they were laughing and singing along. Roger is also well aware of what's going on in the world. He had previously mentioned how bad the justice system was in Toontown, and of course he is right in the middle of the Acme murder situation already. He didn't like that the news program was on, not just because he would rather watch a cartoon, but because he already knows that bad things are happening. He would rather laugh and be happy in spite of those very real problems. Another contrast to Roger's worldview is the villain Judge Doom. Of course, later we find out that Doom is actually a Toon disguised as a human, and he is the one who killed Eddie's brother, but regardless, his mindset is very human-like. Doom killed Acme and everyone else because it was all a part of his big plan to take over and destroy Toontown, to make room for a freeway, which would make room for more gas stations and motels, more businesses, more convenience, etc. Eddie and Jessica question his plans, saying that people will notice that Toontown is suddenly gone. But Judge Doom essentially says that no one has the time to worry about silly cartoon characters when they're busy with their own problems. Sadly, there is some truth to what he's saying. As humans, we do become so obsessed with managing our lives. We're so worried about what's going to happen to us in the future that we miss what might be happening right before our eyes. We become so consumed with work, studying, and other responsibilities that we sometimes forget how to have fun. We forget how to laugh. We can feel like it's just silly kid stuff to enjoy life and that adults don't have that luxury. But Roger and the wacky cartoon characters represent the idea that there's something a bit more important. We need to laugh and to have fun, and maybe we need to let go all the more when times are hard. Because if you don't ever let yourself laugh, you may just forget how. You may lose a ton of the beauty and joy that life has to offer. Roger calls laughter a weapon because we need something other than the dreary day-to-day problems to survive. We have to hold on to the simple things, or we might just give in to despair. While it's good to be responsible and hardworking, it's also responsible to take care of yourself and try to enjoy the things around you that make you happy. If Roger really was just a wacky cartoon who makes jokes all the time, that wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary. But Roger is that wacky, silly cartoon rabbit while also being well aware of the dark and depressing world around him. He chooses to laugh and to help others even in the face of serious trouble. Now that's something that gets my attention. This is what sets this character apart. So keep laughing. You got this.